on this spot. On August 6, 2008 at 3:15 a.m., officers of the Vancouver Police Anomalous Response Unit breached a sealed storage unit at a decommissioned facility in East Vancouver. Inside, they encountered 27 clown-like entities exhibiting hostile behavior, anatomical impossibilities, and partial resistance to ballistic force. The event remains the most direct engagement with what came to be known as the Creeper Clowns. Believed to be the result of a reality-based infection, these entities were active from 1999 to 2020 with over 1,000 surreal and violent acts attributed to them, including infrastructure sabotage and biochemical pranks. Though initially mistaken for a gang, they are now considered synthetic anomalies with no clear origin, purpose, or conclusion.
We are treating this as an absolute threat. Police say students reported seeing 3 people dressed as clowns showing up near the playground during recess. Those kids telling investigators the clowns might have been carrying a briefcase.
Inspector Baggett, we say that way on Philly 57.
Gruesome. Repulsive. Hideous. Disgusting.
File 246A. Subject: Creeper Clowns conflict with local authorities. Date: August 6th, 2008. Introduction.
On August 6, 2008 at 3:15 a.m., several members of the Vancouver Municipal Police Department were involved in an incident that was at best difficult to explain and at worst a sign of the worsening degradation of local reality. While a majority of the facts were kept from the public, a local psychic skilled in the art of remote viewing,
referred to CIA MK Ultra files for clarification,
was able to access confidential computer files which revealed a violent encounter the Vancouver Municipal Police had with the unique Lower Mainland phenomena, referred to colloquially as
the Creeper Clowns.
2. First theory, gang behavior hypothesis.
When the Creeper Clowns first started showing up in the late 1990s, preliminary assumptions proposed that they were some form of street gang, with one city official releasing the following statement.
Field observations supported a provisional hypothesis that the clown presence marked the emergence of a decentralized, surrealist-influenced crew or club. Though lacking hierarchy, their ritualistic costuming, nonsensical vocalizations, and choreographed public disturbances suggested symbolic cohesion. Their actions, absurd as they seemed, revealed patterns of territorial mimicry and confrontation consistent with emergent gang dynamics.
However, there were a lot of holes in that theory. The clowns didn't act like people. They didn't act like humans. They couldn't be arrested, contained, or even identified as individuals. These oddities gave credence to a considerably stranger hypothesis.
3. Theory 2, ontological infestation supposition. Can somebody please turn on a light?
On March 21st, 2012, a second theory was formally introduced by Dr. Lawrence J. Goober, then serving as Chief Scientific Officer of the SI AMR Directorate. He proposed that the clowns were in fact not inhabitants of the city or even sentient beings, but instead represented an infection of reality on the molecular level.
We're not talking about ordinary citizens putting on makeup and silly costumes. These things are growing out of the earth, in those tunnels that run deep under the city, which I said we should have filled with cement, but apparently was too expensive. Well, let's see how much it costs them to replace half the city's infrastructure when these rogue ideological concepts get down to the business of eating the fingers off of school children and filling all our pies and jelly donuts with acidic creams.
The proposed theory centered on the substance referred to as the tesseract compound, a chemical solution purportedly composed of elements or aspects existing in dimensions inaccessible to four-dimensional sentience, including human consciousness. Under specific conditions, this compound was theorized to facilitate the generation of synthetic entities exhibiting traits analogous to biological life forms. Unlike the Kitsilano tulpa mimes, conceptual beings made manifest through the belief granted by others, which had infected West Vancouver from 1913 to 1929, and again from 1967 to 1976, which occasionally manifested as traditional circus clowns. The creeping clowns of the downtown East Side appeared and behaved more like nightmarish mutations, stumbling sluggishly through streets and alleyways with bones made of soft, spongy materials and degraded folds of skin which reportedly hung off their faces' musculature as if held on with a handful of poorly placed thumbtacks.
Five, felonious activities. When I get out of here, you're all gonna pay.
It has been estimated that several thousand people were injured, either physically or emotionally, by the activities of these entities, from the first sighting in 1999 to the last known sighting in 2020. From bizarre practical jokes to outright direct assaults, the creeper clowns were responsible for over 1,600 civil crimes, including but not limited to
setting fire to a water bottling factory, filling all the school bus tires with bees, using fake fart cushions to suffocate 16 elderly people to death, replacing a man's teeth with tiny doll heads, replacing a bunch of tiny doll heads with some dirty old teeth, using a large portion of stolen mashed potatoes gone rancid, in excess of 16 tons, to create an offensive portrait of former Canadian Premier Duke Douglasworth, filling the SkyTrain tunnels with lewd balloon animals. A bunch of them broke into City Hall and covered all the floors with a reflective substance that couldn't be removed or covered, resulting in the hallways continuing to look that way now. One night, they ate every pet iguana inside of city limits. They kept leaving rainbow poops with psychedelic properties all over the front steps of every library in town, resulting in hundreds of tripped-out pigeons and a few totally ripped toddlers. They made fun of my shirt when I was on my way to work. They opened a chain of moderately successful pizza restaurants that was later revealed to be a pyramid scheme to sell cryptocurrency and NFTs. They turned all the downtown ducks pink, using a semi-toxic paint that resulted in local parks becoming, to quote the mayor, really depressing.
Six, incident report. I'll find you, and I'll find your kids.
The following document was obtained from confidential sources within the Vancouver Municipal Police Department.
At 03:14 hours, officers responded to a 1082 distress signal originating from storage container number 403B at the decommissioned Tabor Freight Yard. The structure in question had been secured under joint authority of the SIAMR and the VPD's Anomalous Response Unit 313 since 2002 and was not listed on public registries. Upon breach of the container, standard thermal lock override, reinforced hinges removed with precision charges, officers encountered approximately 27 humanoid entities bearing the outward visual characteristics of circus clowns. Entities displayed exaggerated facial pigmentation, ill-fitting synthetic garments, and disproportionate extremities. See Appendix B, Clown Physiology Summary. Notably, internal volume of container number 403B measures 10.2 cubic meters and should not, under any non-anomalous spatial physics model, have permitted the concealment of more than 3 adult human bodies, accounting for clearance. No additional entrances, trapdoors, or spatial fold markers were identified during the on-site spatial audit. Entities demonstrated hostile behavior upon visual contact, exhibiting erratic motor functions and bursts of laughter that produced temporary disorientation. Engagement protocols were initiated. Standard kinetic measures proved variably effective. Several entities exhibited fragmentation on impact, followed by immediate recomposition. Officers discharged a combined total of 132 rounds across an estimated 12-minute engagement window. Final confirmed count post-engagement: 23 distinct bodies, several of which exhibited overlapping anatomical redundancies, e.g. multiple heads on shared spinal column, nested torsos, fractal fingers, etc. All recovered remains have been transferred to Cold Storage Unit 7 under Class 3 quarantine.
7 potential impacts and implications. Just you wait.
Noted Harlequin historian and overall clown enthusiast Stefan Ruler said,
Well, see, normally I like this kind of thing, but these guys really gross me out. They look like those pictures created by artificial intelligence programs with too much skin and lacking a clear understanding of the functionality of bones and internal organs. There's an awkward sadness to how they move, like you're watching origami birds unfolding in the rain. But just as you're starting to express a bit of empathy towards their situation, bam! That's when they get you, slapping you across the face with a slab of moldy bologna. That's not just some funny joke either. I had pink eye for 6 months, nearly lost vision in my right eye altogether, and the smell. It got into the pores of my skin, man. I was smelling it for years. Some days I can still smell it. It's like being permanently haunted by a nasty bit of bad breath.
But it's not coming from my mouth.
Huh. Okay, so, look. It's weird that we're talking about these things like they're living creatures. They clearly can fool people on a mass scale. Intellectually, they possess no more sentience or autonomy than bacteria. On a cellular level, they may exhibit signs of life or existence, but beyond that, they resemble brainless clones, empty dolls animated by an internal directive geared toward chaos and surrealist disorder. But it's only weird to us, the ones who experience it. They don't experience anything.
Being mad at the clowns is like seeing a man yelling at a tree after walking into it. Fire is the best tool for their disposal. You can't risk cellular regeneration on any level. You have to treat them like the infection they are. The city pushed a couple hundred of them into a mass grave somewhere in Yaletown, and then just poured concrete over it. I think it's parking lot now. But they're still down there, still animated, still giggling and smirking down in the dark. You can hear them twitching through the solid stone if you put your ear to the pavement. They're not dead. They're not even sleeping. They're just waiting, restlessly, slowly breaking the tiny cracks that will someday become crevices large enough to ooze their way through, back into the light of day. And then all this will start again.